What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Press X Podcast, episode 132, your weekly podcast for gaming news and opinions coming at you each and every Monday. I am Kevin McManus. With me, Nick Hassell.
Hey, I can't see anyone.
Yeah, it's dark in here. Once again, we are doing the no video option. This is just for one more week, test some stuff out. I also might be working a little bit with the audio differently this week, so if it sounds loud or different, that was also intentional. Let us know what you think of that. Your feedback from last week's episode was actually very helpful, and I took a lot of that stuff into consideration, and we will talk about those particular events in a little bit. I do want to say, another week of news. Almost nothing going on again.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the summer blues, basically, at this point.
That and E3 happens,
yeah.
And then there's usually like tricklings of news after it, and then just radio silent for like a month, and that's kind of what happens every year. But luckily, some good games have been coming out, so we can.
And usually, I think this time of year is set aside for more like DLC and content coming out. They're like, hey, the summer pack for this whatever series, or
here's a
coming
character
this fall or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of what it's for. I always kind of liken summer to just like, here's all the games you couldn't get to during the school year, or I guess work year for most of us. So that's kind of cool that like some of the stuff that maybe you haven't got to yet has had a few content updates or a few things roll out since then. So
yeah, I
get
will
to the
say
backlog.
the last 2 weeks-ish has been a big, ooh, I wanted to check that out. Let me hop in. Ooh, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
Let me hop in. I've been doing
That's what I've been doing, except I've used it for not video games.
animes and such.
Yes.
So with that said, what we've been playing is going to be a significant part of this episode, I imagine. And we have an interesting question to talk about later in the show. But let's start with comments from last week, and there was a handful of them. Thank you all for commenting on the video, particularly about the format of the video. Zach Yoder says, I actually did watch your video, but this was fine, and it was also a slow week, talking about the news. Yeah, how do you consume podcasts on the YouTubes? You listen to them?
It is like the 7th tab out of 20.
Yeah.
It is in the background, and I usually, if I'm listening to it, I'm either at work, sometimes on the way home, not too often. It's more from like music or just silence, which is nice to have after a long day, or like I'm playing a game and it's on like the second or third screen, and it's just kind of background noise.
Yeah,
so.
My favorite thing used to be on the Xbox One. The feature that I liked the most that they got rid of was the split screen. I don't even snap to, I think it was called. I used to put on podcasts on that, and then I'd play a game on the other half of the screen, and I actually really liked that. But yeah, I'm like 50-50. I enjoy watching certain ones, particularly like movie fights, where they're having heated arguments and they're making jokes and all this stuff. I like those. But the more informative ones, those are background noise to me. I don't need to see a guy read the news. Like, I'm okay.
I mean, it's the same thing for me as like the radio stations. So like when I used to listen to like Howard Stern and stuff like that, like I don't care about seeing anyone.
Yeah.
But
unless there's B-roll.
I was getting ready to say, if a podcast or a radio show is bringing in like a certain guest, okay, I'll see them. But if it's just the same dudes over and over, and they're all just kind of comfy in their chairs and talking, sort of like we are, then
way more comfy this week, as we are not up in the usual podcast room. It is
the secret reason why we're not doing video.
It is significantly cooler for us right now, so that's always nice. But yeah, I'm like 50-50 on it. It kind of depends on the personalities and things. But like I said, we will be going back to the video. This is just testing some stuff out. Some other comments. Wendy says, I didn't think I would enjoy just listening to the audio, but this works for me! ! Very excited about that. Ryan Summers says, no, the video takes away the personal touch from the podcast. Like you said, most will listen but not watch anyways. And then he goes into, have you ever wondered about having a website, live streams, updates like that? Basically turning into a more like news story, like an IGN type thing. Much bigger, maybe doing stuff particularly on news stories individually. Things like that. I would love to do that. That is the furthest thing away from happening right now. It's a struggle to do this podcast every week. Let me tell you. But in the future, that would be
better. Awesome. Like if you had tons of different videos out and they're used to seeing us, and then the podcast is just like, hey, here's audio only.
Or that, or if I had any sort of help with editing and all that stuff, graphics, things like that, it would be totally different. But in the future, maybe. In-Game Buzz says, interesting format, keep it up, maybe iTunes in the future? One can dream. I've been looking at that a lot, audio only, because it is a podcast, and a lot of people go like running and listen to it, things like that. Recently, YouTube has let you play stuff in the background. That is not a usual thing. That's something that just started happening on my phone, and that's nice. So
it's very nice.
But yeah, audio podcast, looking into it, the SoundClouds and all that stuff. So maybe in the future, hopefully in the future. And this is a good ability to get me to practice it because I focus more on the audio with this format rather than the video and the audio, etc., etc. But like I said before, thank you guys for your comments and for your feedback. It means a lot. And with that said, let's move into what we've been playing. I have some exciting stuff myself, some stuff that I consider very exciting. But I think we should just jump into the big one, which is Octopath Traveler.
I can do that.
We've both been playing it.
Yep.
Kellen's been playing it. I assume.
think he started it. I saw Craig start it.
Yeah, every time I'm playing it, like pop-ups come up and it's like Nick's on Octopath, Craig's on Octopath. I'm like, okay, everybody's just playing this game.
I think before coming here, I hit 10 hours. So
I think I'm at like 5.5, 6.
Yeah,
around there.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw when you just saved right before we started. I'm basically, you're pretty much gated from it in a way, but I'm almost done collecting my 8 people.
So that's the route you're going.
Yeah.
There's a lot of routes. So I was trying to figure out how the story progression I guess let's start at a basic level.
Yeah.
You pick a character to start with, and you kind of learn their story. And then once you finish their story chapter 1, the game opens up and you can go find the other 7 characters' story chapter 1s, or you can level up your character and just go do their story if you wish. Now, the first chapter, I believe, is like level 5, so you're about level 5 when you finish it. Then your second chapter is level 20. So there's a big gap between it. So they are...
It just depends. I think the second one, because I went straight from, I finished my origin to I knew... Because if you remember back when I did the prologue demo, I did 4 saves, and I did my character and then another character, so I saw all 8. I just went straight to another character, and it was like 11. So it just kind of depends.
For the next character?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it just kind of depends like how hard you grinded. And then, like, once you're done with that area and you, like, basically reload the map again and it knows, hey, he's going to find the other person, then it, like, levels everything up. So it's really weird.
It scales tremendously.
Yes.
And I'm not a giant fan of it. I fought a boss that was somebody's prologue thing, and it felt like an end boss to a game. It was ridiculous. It took so long. I went in with like 40 healing items. I was like, I'm just going to make short work of this. Ran out of all my healing items. I had 2 dead party members on the final attack, so I didn't even get the experience for killing the thing. I was like, this is scaled tremendously.
I think the hardest ones are when you only have 2 characters and maybe 3. The first one isn't bad.
I thought the first one was fine. I thought the second one was the easiest.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and then the third one was really hard.
The backbreaker?
Okay. For me. But anyway, you can power level or whatever you want to do side quests, things like that, and then you can go to your next story chapter, and you can essentially solo the game.
Yeah, the chapter 1 area is just the big circle with all 8 people. And then, like, there's definitely routes to get to the chapter 2 and beyond areas, but
they're just
warn
marked
you
on the map.
It'll have, like, here's the recommended level, and, it might even flash a warning, like, hey, you're going to get crushed if you try this.
I was curious how they were going to do the story progression, because there's literally 8 stories going on individual of each other at all times. And I was like, are you going to select, like, a main party member, and then it's only going to show you the stuff for their story? But it's just a little menu with their face that says chapter 2 for this person is right here. Chapter 2 for this person's over here. Chapter 2 for this person's over here. So that's cool. So the way I'm doing it is I think I'm going to recruit all 8 people. I originally was only going to go get the 4 that I wanted, but I went and got somebody and was like, ooh, I don't know if I like that character. So now what I think I'm going to do is go get all 8 people and then make my party I think you can have 4 out at a time.
Yes.
Make my party kind of the strengths of my weaknesses for my main character, which is Primrose the Dancer. So whatever,
cover all your weaknesses.
Yeah, cover her kind of her weaknesses, and then the other 4 people can fuck off. I'm just gonna ignore them.
And FYI on that, they don't have
Level
like
up.
a system where they get like
Experience.
experience or a little bit, like they just get nothing. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to make 2 parties that complement each other.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that if I do end up loving the game and I want to kind of quote unquote play through it again, I just go to that other 4 people and do their quests. But to me, the way I kind of think about it is you're picking the main character of the game, and that's kind of the venture you could do. Now you could do chapter 1s, chapter 2s, chapter 3s for everybody. That would apparently these stories are like 30 hours each.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot. But you could do it like that, or you could do just chapter 1, 2, 3, 4 of one character, and then maybe go back and try and finish the other stuff. But with what you said, how the game scales, I don't know how easy that would be, because you might start doing chapter 2s that are like really high level.
I think it also depends too. Like if you go back and you do, let's just say you do Dancer, Soldier, Mage, and Thief or something like that. Like if you just take those 4 through, they're all going to be like super powerful level. They're all going to be really close to each other.
Yeah.
So if you go back and do
Seems like they
the
catch
soldier
up to each other pretty quick.
Yeah, they do, which is nice. So that's why I like the scaling more so than it makes me feel challenged the entire time. Like I like that. Obviously, I like games like Dark Souls that never like let your foot off the brake, sort of thing.
But Dark Souls doesn't scale with you.
Right. It's
That's
just
the
constantly...
thing. Dark Souls, like, when you go back to old areas in Dark Souls, you feel awesome.
Yeah.
And I always think it's weird, especially in games like this. Like, I go back and fight this turtle that I killed fairly easily when I was a lower level, and now it's, like, fighting back harder. I mean, what is this? I should be able to just crush you.
The thing, too, is that it's, like, a different version of that same turtle, and it's, like, got 4 or 5 shield on it.
Yeah, there is different
powered.
ones that have different weaknesses, which I'm fine with. It just threw me off the first time, because I hit it with, like... so the way let's go into the combat.
Yeah.
The way the combat works, just real quick, is it's completely turn-based with kind of an active speed bar at the top telling you who's going to attack next, and you can do some things to speed that up or slow down enemies and things like that. Defending will give you a shield and then put you higher up in the chain of orders.
And there's plenty of like
again.
debilitation sort of spells that you can move people around.
And then everybody has a literal shield number that you can break down by finding their weakness, and when it hits 0, they're stunned for a turn.
Vulnerable,
So you can use strategies like, they're charging up a strong attack, now's a good time to break their shield because they'll be stunned and can't do that. Or you can just go really aggressive and try to break it early, and then kind of do all-out attacks with everybody and try and just get rid of that enemy. And then the other mechanic of the game is every turn that goes by, you basically get a charge counter, and you can spend those to attack multiple times in one turn. So if you wait for 3 turns and then you break something's shield so it's super vulnerable, you can use 3 attacks in a row on him.
Yeah,
really,
all
really
physical
hurt him.
attacks you can do like a continuous stream of attacks, and then for magic attacks you can just like
level them
add
up.
like a multiplier
It's
to
so
it.
cool. As soon as I did that the first time, I was like, I want Final Fantasy 16 like this, because I imagine having Blizzard, and then it's like Blizzard or Blizzagra or whatever, however you say it, and like you could level it up that way and cast the spell. Kind of like how in Final Fantasy 15, casting the big spells wasn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
You could kind of just do it. And even in Kingdom Hearts 3, doing it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. And I think this would be a cool way to complement that. I really want to see other games in this art style, because the art style is amazing. It's this 8-bit, 16-bit, I guess, game that's actually 3D. It looks like a pop-up book, and I didn't realize how cool that pop-up book limited edition was until I saw people unboxing it. And I was like, this is neat. It looks just like the areas of the game, and I'm like, it
The
is
cool
kinda
thing
designed
too
like a
is that it
pop-up
like
book.
because of the style, it naturally hides a bunch of like chests and secret little areas.
Yeah,
that
like
you can
behind
venture
a
up
tree.
into.
Yeah. It's almost like a play. With.
I mean, the way that a
backgrounds
section kind of enacts, and the way like the stories are presented, and when you finish an origin story, when you start one, like it has the screen with like the text that scrolls across, so it feels like you're like starting a new chapter in a book. So yeah, it's very much like a folk tale / play / like kid story.
Yeah. But some things that I really like about it, just to kind of rattle off, I like that everybody's story is kind of individual of their own. You kind of have a main character. It's sort of like, hey, you're in distress, I'm in distress, you help me, I'll help you.
Yeah.
But we, our fate isn't determined by Mr. Big Bad.
Yeah.
Over here, or at least not yet. We'll see.
That actually led to probably some misconceptions, or maybe people just hoping that it would be more like a Lord of the Rings, where everyone's fate is bound by the same thing. So hey, let's fight together. Whereas this one just feels like, hey, I could do this, but, I want an ally. Or this guy's like, oh, I want to reclaim this, but I need help.
Yeah.
Or
I really like
this
that you
guy's
can play
just
it
like
by yourself.
Yeah.
I originally thought I was going to, but
this other one could just be like, I just want to help everybody. So why would I be alone, sort of thing. So yeah, everyone's got their own little reasons, and they're all cool. Even though I'm not head over heels for every single character, I like that they exist and their reason for venturing out of whatever city. And I like that the cities are different. The areas are different.
Yeah, I have I like 2 of the cities, and I haven't liked the other cities.
Really?
And the thing is, it might just be first impressions, but I like Primrose's city the best. I like the characters in her story. I think so far her story is the most. It makes the most sense. It's just a revenge story about somebody who killed a family member, which feels way more like a video game story that you would take, as opposed to some of the other characters' stories that seem a little bit more,
I think everyone at least kind of fits themselves. Once you play,
stuff,
even though go steal the orbs is not the greatest start to an adventure. It's just pretty cool because it makes sense. And same thing for the apothecary. It's just go heal the world doesn't sound very fun for most people, but it's just pretty cool. Everyone's got a really solid reason for leaving. And like I said, the music in all the places are awesome. I like
I like the music,
yeah,
but I don't think it's great. There's I guess the main theme, it plays every time you get to the end of a chapter. For every character.
I think I know what you're talking about,
Yeah, I think that theme's really good. And there was one town had a really good theme. I think it might have been The Thief. I can't remember exactly. But one town had a really good theme, but I'm definitely not crazy about the music. I'm going to rattle off the few gripes I have with the game,
sure,
and then just assume everything else is excellent. I don't like the map in relation to the game. The map makes everything look way more spread out than it actually is, and then in the game world, it's just one screen over. But on the map, it looks like this huge journey, and it's caused me to miss a lot of things because I'm like, oh, I think I need to go up here, and I either go up there and there's just a chest there, and that's not the actual route on the map because the map makes it look differently scaled. So I had a lot of trouble with that. And then
to listeners at home, maps are Kevin's worst enemy.
I don't like them. And then another issue that I have is just navigating the map. I get caught on things a lot. There'll be a rock there, and it's picture a pop-up book. There's a pop-up rock, and you don't when you hit it, you don't kind of slide around it like a lot of games do, where you're I'm pushing in that direction. Clearly, you want to go that way. Let me give you a little push and get you around it. You'll just keep walking into it, and then sometimes you change direction, not realizing there's a twig or something behind you too, and then you're still just running in place, and then you hit a random encounter because the game is full of random encounters. I don't have a problem with the random encounters. I do think they're a lot, and they do seem to camp save points, which is a little annoying.
It sounds like you need to find a certain party member.
Is there a shut off random encounter member?
Not shut off, but greatly diminished.
Yeah, I assume there would be an item. Most games that do this have a ring or something you can wear that shuts them off.
I think I guess if we're going to throw gripes in, just because I'm not ever going to say anything's perfect aside from Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, but but no, there's an imbalance between the characters, as in this character seems super vital, and you need to have this person with you in every build that you can think of.
There's one character I feel like that so far,
and they are just extremely useful all the time. Even if they're not doing damage in the middle of a fight. It just seems like you have to have this person. And it feels like there's maybe 2 of those. And so far, unless there's just more out there, obviously this is 5-10 hours into a 100-hour adventure.
Yeah.
And so far it feels like there's 2 or 3 that it's just if you have the right weaknesses or strengths, I guess, against certain enemy types, then sure. But they're just kind of there. They're just an archetype. But there's some people that just seem super vital, and that makes me want to keep them in the party. And I'm more of a type where I want to finish all the chapter 1s, all the chapter 2s, chapter 3s, and I want everyone, when I'm looking at the party selection screen, I want everyone to be within the same 5 or 10
Yeah.
levels, because I don't like having the one person who is just like, I don't like them at all.
That's just
and they're like level 10.
To me, something that makes a really not necessarily a good RPG, because there's good RPGs that don't have this, but a RPG that I'll typically invest a lot of time in. And I think like Persona was really good about this. Persona 5. It had like the baton pass. So like if your party didn't have the weakness that you needed, you could tag out a member and tag in another member, and they could use their attack to hit the weakness. Things like that. Things that streamline a process that could be frustrating. A really simple one is like, when I buy something, let me equip it right away, and then let me sell the thing that I'm unequipping right away. Like systems like that are really helpful to RPGs, and I think this game, and maybe it shows up later because I've heard you unlock a lot of stuff later down the road. Cool. I don't want to spoil anything for you just in case you haven't looked it up, but I know the game and the combat and stuff changes as it kind of goes along, and I'm hoping maybe you get some sort of abilities like that to kind of streamline those things. Maybe an XP share for the party members that aren't actually in the.
I bet I know who gets it.
Things like that would be nice. Like right now I assume that one of those characters is a healer. I'm just kind of rolling. I don't really have a quote unquote healer right now, so I'm just stocked up on all these potions and things. I just keep throwing them on the people that don't actually have any sort of attack thing for that particular fight. I'm like, you're not weak to daggers? Guess I'm healing this game.
Yeah, and I do like that the game at least forces you, like, if you're going to go do the clerics, chapter 2, like, you have to take them. So that kind of resolves some of the issue of, well, I feel like this person's important and I have to use them everywhere, but maybe I can just, like, force myself to tag them out for the character's story that I'm going to do right now. But yeah, that's mainly my only thing. Sort of like you were talking about when you buy an item, like you buy Great Sword number 2 or version 2, like you can go ahead and equip it there.
Yeah.
But I think the reason you can't sell it is just in case you want to give the sword to the other guy who can use the sword.
I still wish it asked you. Like, do you want to sell it?
Sure.
It would be nice.
But yeah, I like that.
Another thing is,
system.
like, just another hand-holdy nice thing is, like, when you're buying a sword, show all the people in your party that can use that sword. Is really not like I like features like that are just helpful, so that if you don't remember something, you're not like punished for it.
So
showing the weaknesses on the bottom of creatures so you don't have to memorize them.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for showing things I've tried.
It also sounds like you need to find a certain party member if you want more of that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, does it show beforehand what they are?
It shows more of that.
Cool.
It's not really a spoiler, but I just want you to discover the person and just be like, oh, I've got to take them with me everywhere. No, they're my best friend.
See, the problem is Primrose is weird. She's like a mix between a support and an offensive character. So, like, I don't know what I need. Do I need more support? Do I need more offense? I'm not sure.
She's got like a dagger and a spear? Or she's just got a dagger?
She's got a dagger, and I think there's something else, but I can't remember what it is.
But yeah, and then she's got like buff skills and debilitator skills. So, like, she can heal, I think, maybe. But like, I know she can slow people down, like hurt them and stuff like that. So yeah,
she can buff your team.
She's a weird person to start off with, because usually you get like the high damage or like the high magic type, and you can just blow through people. Then you get your supports in like the traditional game. But this one, I mean, just like me, I ended up, because I was real stuck between the Scholar and Apothecary, went with Apothecary. Just went with my original idea. And yeah, starting the game off as a healer is just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But luckily,
so like Primrose, they all have a special ability. And I think, as far as I know, it's just like kind of one gimmick that they have.
I think there's 4 very distinct differences between the 8, and for each one, 2 of them are kind of the same. So the Apothecary can just ask a question. I think it's called Inquire, but he can just ask, like, hey, what's up? And some people will be like, hey, I heard there's a hidden item around town, or hey, here's some gossip. But the other version of that is, I forget the name of it, Scrutinize, and it's from the Scholar, and he's more, I think it even has like a magnifying glass, but that's more just like, let me not interrogate, but let me, sort of pick your brain about something, and that's got a percentage on there. So if you fail it, then it hurts your rep. So I think there's like a rep system, and then there's just like a bare bones sort of system. Yeah. So like the hunter and the soldier, they can both challenge people to fight.
Yeah.
I
I got the soldier guy first, and I was like, oh, he can duel people. That's cool. And then the next one I did was the hunter, and I was like, oh, you can force people to duel you. That's cool.
There are some minor differences because you are, at least with a hunter, testing out your list of animals, and the challenge one, I guess, is just to build him up. Maybe there's a further system down the line that's just like, hey, when you challenge 50 people, or
I have no clue. It's weird. It's a weird one. I think it's because you can like challenge a guard and then beat him and then get into the building he's guarding or something. The thief can steal.
Yeah, because when you do beat him, they're sitting there conked out, just like laid out with stars.
The thief can like pickpocket people.
Yeah.
The dancer is still my favorite one because I think hers is the most dynamic. Besides the hunter, because you can capture animals, is dynamic too. But she can talk to people, and then it shows a percentage of if you can allure them into your party, and then you can summon them. They follow you around, and you can do stuff with that. But you can bring them into battle and summon them, and it just gives you a free. Like right now, I have somebody with a bow and arrow, so that covers my bow and arrow attacks. But she also has a dagger. So she has the dagger attacks down, and she can do magic. So she does some magic stuff done.
Yeah, that's why I like the cleric too, because she's got the same or like a similar ability for that, where she can bring someone else into the fight.
Oh, really? Okay.
But she, I forget the dancers, like if you actually control them and say, hey, do this attack, do that attack.
So they are AI controlled.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to say it's the same thing where they pop out and basically you have a fifth person. Yeah. So after that person who summons them attacks, they'll do an attack. Yeah. Yeah, I will say the AI is really smart so sometimes when you're playing these turn-based games, the enemy is like attacking people that have a resistance to stuff, and you're like, why are they so stupid? Yeah. In this game, I can count on them to be really smart, which is interesting. So like the enemy will almost always target somebody that they can knock out if they can knock them out, and they will target people who are more like susceptible to certain things. And I think that that's really cool because it makes you fight with your A game. Like you can always assume that the enemy isn't going to be stupid. And I really like and that's why I like the soldier, because he's got the taunt ability, because I've had to use that because I used two people who were kind of susceptible to physical attacks in like a very like packed cave full of things that I was kind of grinding out some levels. And I had to hit taunt way more than I'm used to doing, because usually there's just like, it's like kind of rolling the dice. I'm like, oh, do a physical attack to the tank. And it's just like, will you? Is that really the smart thing to do? But I've had to be like, everyone attack the big beefy guy, because
it's cool. I really like that.
Survive.
But my only other gripes that I want to talk, I think the scaling's weird. I think story-wise, it's kind of weird. And just gameplay-wise, I feel like I'm getting in fights that should not be as difficult right now as they are. I'm like, I kind of like being able to crush stuff. That's part of an RPG to me, is becoming god tier, going back and crushing things that used to be a problem is like a great feeling. And that's why a lot of JRPGs in particular, they'll like have you refight bosses towards the end of the game, and then you just like destroy them and you feel real good about yourself. So I do think it's weird how much the game scales, because that kind of threw me off.
It's immediate too. Like as soon as you hit a couple levels in an area,
which is nice.
It does. But it is immediate, and it's just constant. So I like it because it's different, and because, like I said, it's a little bit of I just want to feel challenged all the time. I don't want to hit cruise mode, even though if they added an option, hey, do you want this to be very aggressive leveling or just kind of normal, like a slow pace sort of thing, or I want to beat this in 30 hours pace. That would be cool if they wanted to do that. I wouldn't hate them for it. But mostly just mostly the challenge, and just mostly because, like you said, it keeps you on your A game and introduces enemies. Like, even you could say it's maybe not a different enemy, but if they throw out an upgraded version of it that has different resistances and stuff like that feels like a different
it's kind of like a color swap of an enemy, but it's not actually a palette swap in this game, because they look the same.
That's good for me, because I'm capturing all these enemies in my, I guess, Pokeball or whatever that girl has, and using them. So I don't mind.
But I like most other things about the game. I think if you have a Switch, this is definitely a must get if you're into RPGs.
No performance issues whatsoever.
I had one little hiccup, but it was like a frame rate drop for like 2 seconds. It wasn't anything.
Were you just doing a bunch of stuff on screen?
I forget. I think it was I think it was during a fight. Some stuff popped up. It wasn't a big deal.
Was it handheld? Or?
It was handheld, yeah.
That might be it then.
Well, it wasn't a big deal, though. But yeah, I think this is a must get if you like RPGs and you got to Switch.
For
and
sure.
and it works. It's a great handheld game. And then today, for the first time, I played it on the TV, and surprise, surprise, it was a great, great docked game. So.
Yeah, I think it's just very versatile. Not only for the fact that you get 8 people that you can choose to play if you want to, but also we're kind of said back and forth, like you can just go super hardcore and just grind the hell out of the game, which is fine. Or you can just be like, I kind of just like these 2 characters. I want to digest this for now, go back, save it, and be done with it. Maybe in a couple months, pick it back up. I'll do characters 3 and 4 or something like that. So,
so anyway, really like it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it for the next couple of weeks. And I know a lot of our followers are into JRPG, so I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on that one. Is there anything else you want to say about OCTOPATH before we move on to some other?
I am literally not going to do anything else aside from work, eat, sleep, and play that. Maybe not sleep. We'll see. But no, I'm going to keep grinding the game, and I'm sure I'll end up with like 100, 120 hours, something like that. So.
I saw your Xenoblade hours the other day.
Oh, yeah.
You need to relax.
Wait until the expansion comes out.
You need to calm down. All right, so next up, I've been playing Persona 5 Dancing.
Yeah.
You lent me that one, not Persona 3, but you lent me Persona 5. Now I have Persona 3. And I might actually stream Persona 3 Dancing, because I feel like I understand the menus and everything now. I know what's going on.
Are you going to dance while you
yes, I'm going to do all the dances live while doing it. No, I think I might just platinum it on a stream. I think that might be fun. I platinum Persona 5 Dancing.
Yeah.
So I've talked about it before because I listened to the soundtrack. I think the music is very hit or miss. There's some that I think are really good. I think like Beneath the Mask is amazing. I think that's by far the best one.
You're talking about specifically just 5 right now?
Specifically 5 remixes. Yeah, Beneath the Mask I think is amazing. There's like some of them are pretty good. I think like Whims of Fate's pretty good. The classic music in there is cool, though it does feel specifically with 5 like there is a lack of songs because they have a lot of songs that they just remixed 2 or 3 times.
Well, here's the thing too, like even going into it, when they first announced it, I think they did 3 first and then 5, like the video announcement for it.
Oh yeah.
When they announced it, like I was like, oh, this is awesome, more Persona 5. And then like I started thinking about it, I was just like, how are they going to do these songs? These are very moody.
Whoever
jazz.
did Beneath the Mask should have done the whole soundtrack.
It is hit or miss, but I think it's just like the source material is just hard to make dances out of.
I agree. It's very clashy.
It's like taking like, I don't know, like old jazz records and trying to make them like hip hop dance, which is very hard. Like, sure, Beneath the Mask, I would have figured that to be the lowest, one of the lower chances of like, I can like dance to this.
Yeah, super.
Because I mean, it's rainy day.
They did it with 4 with Snowflakes though.
Yes,
and Snowflakes is one of the better songs on that one.
So it feels like, I don't know, like they just kind of went with 2 or 3 ideas and just like forced it out, because you'll see like Whims of Fate, Last Surprise, maybe not Whims of Fate, Last Surprise, and Wake Up, Get Out There, like. You'll see the same artist 2 or 3 times on a lot of those, and they just like took a stab at it. So it almost kind of feels like someone just like a side project sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This whole game feels like a side project to me. It feels pretty budget, especially in comparison to obviously Persona 5, which is massive and the least budget thing I've ever seen in my life. There's a lot of repeated stuff in the game. So like if you don't unlock different support dancers, as they're called, they basically come out during certain points in the song. The same person will come out and do the same dance that they did the first time. Like there's a lot of repeated animations. They'll do that dance in another song later. Like there's a lot of that. But this is all stuff that you don't really realize while you're playing. It's while you're watching. And while you're playing it, you're focused on the dumb little arrows that are going everywhere. You're not really looking at the thing. But when you sit back and actually like watch it, you're like, oh, this is just kind of repeating.
I mean, it's the same thing like Rock Band. You're going to see the same little like head bobs. And
that's true. But just to me, it feels like this kind of feels like a $40 game to me, especially with the fact that it's 5 and 3. Like they're both coming out kind of like Pokemon. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu is the first time a full price, like it's $60 Pokemon game is going to have 2 versions same day, because they've always been $40, right? They've always been like cheaper. Oh, they haven't? They've done $60 games?
Oh, yeah.
I always thought that they were, because they were
always maybe I can't remember like Game Boy prices, but
sure, but I mean they were always cheaper than a console game. Is my point.
Yeah, at least the DS ones, sure.
Which is strange because the Vita Persona Dancing is the most expensive Vita game.
Really?
Launch. It was a $50 game for
Worth
Vita.
it.
Sure, Persona 4 Dancing, sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, this one does feel a little bit budget. I'm not saying that it's bad. It just definitely feels like a side project. I think that's a good way to put it.
It's basically to fill a space in between like a major project like Q2.
Yeah.
It's basically there to fill a void, which I'm all for that.
Yeah. Speaking of filling a void, there's no story mode.
Yeah.
For this one, there is like a social link, I guess.
It's like a hangout.
Yeah, it's sort of like a social link in that it's got 8 levels, like 8 tiers, and if you do certain tasks while in the dancing mode, you unlock kind of the next tier for that, and they kind of fit with the characters, which is cool. So, for instance, Yusuke's is... you have to hit a certain number of perfect notes, and he's kind of like a perfectionist, so that makes sense. And they all kind of relate to their character. I thought that was kind of neat. But once you hit that tier, you can hang out and do the next thing, and eventually you unlock kind of like an adventure thing, and it is just walking around their room. It's not very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's
cool.
just more. I mean, even you can kind of.
If it wasn't, the problem is this is all in Japanese, so I
that too.
can't judge the quality of it. But I'm just saying it's not a.
You can at least tell
mode.
what's going on.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can kind of throw the anime into this too. It's just more like this is not to fill the place of 5. Same thing with the show. It's just to add to it because, like we say about the show, like we say probably when we understand these people, like talking and hanging out and stuff like that, is like that's the best part is like seeing all the stuff that you didn't get in the game because the game it's hey we got stuff to solve, we got big problems right now. You don't get as much like hey, you want to come over and hang out and look at like the posters in my room?
Yeah, that's why I'm very excited for the English versions of this game, and I will be getting both of them regardless of the fact that they're not $40, and I'll be very excited about it, and I will platinum them again. On top of that, just some more stuff that, kind of digging into the negative. They did this new thing where, particularly with Groovy, I thought was really nice, which is a new song for this game.
Yeah.
They use the intro cinematic as a background to play the game on, and they have one that's like a concert, and they have a lot that are like just cutscenes from the game that they kind of play it over. That's more of this feeling of like padding to me, like, oh, we need another song, let's take the credit scene from the actual Persona game, put it in there, and add notes to it. Like there is a lot of stuff like that going on, and after playing the Groovy one in particular, I kind of wish there was more animated ones that were specifically for dances of just like them dancing in some sort of anime.
The ones where they're taking credit songs and stuff like that are usually the 6-minute ones. So.
Yes, that's another thing. Some of the songs are really long. Like some of them, like oh, I'm halfway done. Like they are a grind to get through some of them.
Like I said, I compare these games a lot more to Rock Band.
Sure,
that's just what they kind of feel like.
Sure. Other than that, like I said, I really liked the systems that they added once I kind of figured it out, how to unlock the actual story content, you unlock costumes by hanging out with the people in the kind of quote-unquote social links.
Not just getting game money and
I missed that, though. I kept looking for the store when I first started. I was like, which one of these is the store? My favorite one was, I beat the game, unlocked everything before I failed a song. And then I played on All Night, which is the highest difficulty that you unlock when you beat it. And I failed the song pretty instantly. And I never failed a song before. So the menu pops up and it's in Japanese. So I click the first one and it just restarts the song. And I'm like, oh, crap. So then I picked the second one and it starts a replay of the song. Yeah. So I thought it was restarted. So I started playing. And it wasn't until like 30 seconds in I realized that it was just a replay of what I already did. And I was like, oh. Darn it. So I let that one go. Then I went to the next one and it opened up like the modifiers to make the song easier. And I'm like, no, I just want to get to the main menu. How do I do this? But anyway, I had fun with it, and I might stream.
The woes of importing.
Yeah. Oh, another point that I want to make out is I think that the dancing in 4 was actually really good. Like the choreography of the characters. Sure. I thought that it kind of flowed with the songs a lot better and everything. In this one, a lot of the characters barely dance. Like they are more like their personality. Yusuke is very like flamboyant and floaty, but he's not like dancing like you see you and Chie and Yukiko kind of doing in the other one. I think that Makoto fits the game by far the best as far as even dancing and like her look for
Yeah.
the game. But like Futaba barely dances too, and like Morgana barely like it's just strange. It's very, very strange. They tried to like carry their personalities over, but I don't know how well that works for a dancing game. Like why couldn't you just be like, and they can magically dance? Okay, whatever. Stranger things have happened in the Persona universe. Also, no, I thought about this. Is there any Personas in this game? I don't think so.
There are not.
Very weird. Persona game, no actual Personas. I think it's the first one.
Like, I mean, I think you're
Personas
gonna.
in 4
I think
dancing.
you're going to like 3 more because I mean, I think
Maybe.
the song selection's better. I think the fact that it has Persona Q lumped into
Sure.
it gives it at least a solid like 3 or 4 good songs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the characters are more natural. At least some are more natural in like a dance type game.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're just kind of injected.
I don't know. Futaba's always wearing headphones. You'd think she'd be able to do
Yeah,
something
but she
with
sits on the
music.
computer all day.
That's
so
fine.
unless she's watching dance videos, which I didn't catch in the actual game. But no, I think it lends itself more, and the style of music definitely lends itself more to it, and you get like the cool singers from back in 3 and Q and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Lotus Juice,
Lotus
that guy.
Juice has some
yeah.
new content.
Oh yeah,
on
like
there, yeah.
he's the man when it comes to those songs. So him being in there and all those other songs make it feel a little more rounded out, I guess. But the thing that I'm gonna pick on the most is just not having that story mode. I really want it because that's what sold.
Yeah, they
4.
can't do it. I don't think
just-
they could do it with having the 2
Sure.
games at the same time.
And
I
I
wish
know
there's at least some like if you played 3, something that's different in 5, and if you played 5,
Sure.
you know, kind of like how the
and I
Pokemon
know
games
that's asking
have
for a lot, and that would kind
trading
of
system.
make the $60 price tag or whatever feel more worth it.
Yes,
because
I
4
agree.
has it. So people who just get the games now, when they get 3, 5, and the digital unlock for 4, when they get it for this one or the English
They're
version,
gonna play 4 and be
they're
like,
gonna
what
be
was-
like,
yeah.
why are they like? Do they just like 4 more? Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? Because obviously the visuals
Yeah,
are way
4
better in
just
3 and
feels
5.
not budget.
It feels like
to
a
me.
game. Yeah.
Also, something else I want to point out, and I could be wrong because I haven't played 4 in a very long time, but I thought the fever mode in 4, where
Mhm.
you get the support dancer, was like hard to do. Like it took effort to try and unlock fever, and fever was like an extension of the song. And you could only perfect the song if you hit the fever and did that whole extra like chorus that it adds.
I don't know about that.
But
no.
in this one, you just hit the fever 3 times and it unlocks, and
Yeah.
they give you more than 3. Like I'm pretty sure in 4, if you missed it, you just didn't get to do the extra dancing. Like the fever modes were more quote unquote spectacular. In I
don't think so.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't notice anything that felt off about it. At least.
Really? See, I thought the fever mode was like because. Yeah, I don't know because I don't think I missed any of the fever modes because you have to like try to. But I'm pretty sure in 4 I remember being like, oh, I missed the fever. I missed the fever mode for this, and you miss a section of the song if you don't do that. Like it like breaks it down for you. Anyway, moving on. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon. This is that 8-bit style NES Castlevania spiritual successor.
Yep.
That was part of a Kickstarter goal done by Indie Crates. I got that. I played that. I beat that. I loved that. It was so fun. I started off and I was like, oh, okay, it's very derivative. It is just like Castlevania. It's significantly easier. It's significantly more friendly. It has some interesting mechanics. You can switch your characters on the fly.
Yeah.
You unlock a character basically every level. There's like 8 levels or something to go through. And then when you beat it, you can kind of do like a new game plus where you have all the characters from the start. And then there's some other modes that you can unlock as well. This got me super excited for the actual release of Bloodstained because I like this Castlevania better than Symphony of the Night. I'm not a big Symphony of the Night fan, actually, but I like the original like side-scroller Castlevania much, much more. And this gave me that. The characters are cool. One is basically Dracula. One is basically, Alucard. But like they all have their characteristics to them. It's a $10 game, so that's really nice. But it does feel more like a $10 game. Whereas some of their other NES stuff that they've done, like when they remade Blaster Master, that felt less like a $10 game to me. Like that one felt bigger in scale, even though that one is also a $10 game. But I really liked it. My problems with it are the music what didn't get stuck in my, I can't give you like a tune from the song, which is a problem because Castlevania, I can give you some songs from, you know what I mean? I can play that Bloody Tears song for you, but like this game, the music didn't get stuck in my head, and I think that's a problem. I thought the gameplay was great. I think you have to play this game on the hardest mode at least because that adds the knockback and the live system and stuff that I feel like are kind of crucial, but it also has an easy mode where there's no knockback and you have infinite tries, so that's cool. The boss fights are easy but a spectacle. They are like crazy stuff that you definitely couldn't do on the NES, but they're very fun, and all the bosses have a desperation attack, which is kind of neat. So once you hit the final hit on the boss, it'll do one final attack, and it can kill you. So it's kind of cool the first time it happens if you're able to dodge it. Some of them feel a little cheap, but I was still okay with it. Some of them I think felt like they'll show you exactly where the attack's going to hit. It's just quick, and you need to like get out of the way. Another thing that I didn't like is you have all these characters, but when one character dies, they're just dead. And then you go back to the last checkpoint without that character. And then if another character dies, you go back without that character. So then you're down to like 2. And then if that one dies, you're down to 1. And it gets to the point where if one character dies, you're like, I might as well just throw all my characters off a cliff and restart with all 4 of them. Like it's very rare that I continue when I'm down a character because why would I, unless I don't have any lives left. So I found myself killing myself a lot when I died once. Because I was like, And like the way the bosses work are, if you go into the boss room, when you die, you're not in the boss room. Like you're a little bit before it. You still have to travel to get back to the bosses. And I've just like let enemies kill me and go back because I don't want to go fight the boss with less characters than I could be fighting them with. Mainly because when you switch characters, it retains everything, their health, all that stuff. So like I found myself somebody doing an attack and I'm like, oh, I might get hit. I'll change to the character I don't like, let him take the hit, and then switch back to the character that I actually like, kind of saving their health bar. It's a little bit like Ninja Turtles on the NES, how you switch between the Ninja Turtles. But anyway, I really like the game. I think it's absolutely worth the money, despite the fact that it feels like a $10 game. It is a $10 game, so I think that's fine.
I might play it before Castlevania Season 2, maybe to get me in the mood for it.
Oh, yeah, it would be really good for that. But yeah, minus my complaints about like the music and the difficulty, I think it could have been a lot harder. I think it's a really good length. It's got a lot of replay value. There's different modes you can unlock. You can, when you get to the characters at the end, you can recruit them or you can kill them, basically, get rid of them. And make the game harder for you. I mean, if you want to make the game harder for yourself, you can play it through with one character and not switch.
I'll leave that to the speedrunners.
Yeah, there's enemies that are very much designed to be killed by certain characters, and like other characters struggle against those enemies real bad. So if you don't have them, you're gonna have a bad time. And then finally, the last thing I want to talk about real quick is Fortnite. Season 4 wrapped up. Season 5 started. Oh my God, Season 5 is good. This is by far my favorite season so far. So they redid a quarter of the map. They took out kind of the areas that people didn't land. They turned it into a desert. And it has a new place. It's like something, Paradise Palms, I think it is. And it's got like palm trees and all this stuff. And a bunch of people go in there. They also removed an area that was kind of a clone of another area and turned that into a golf course. Then they added the ability to play basketball, to golf. They added golf carts that you can drive around, which are neat because if you get a full squad in the golf cart and you all hit down at the same time, the cars jump. So you can do kind of speed boosts, and you can drift with them like Mario Kart. And if you drift long enough, it gives you a speed boost. They added all the stuff that
sounds like it's slowly turning into GTA Online.
And kind of, yeah. They added all the stuff that I on paper I was like, uh-oh, and then I played it. I was like, oh no, this is actually all great. The big thing for the season, last season, was these hop rocks that kind of gave you superpowers to jump and you didn't take fall damage for a while. Those are gone. And this season there's rifts that appear, and if you go through the rift, they stay open for like 10 seconds after someone goes through it, and then they go away, so your whole squad can go into it, or if you want. Or you can do what we did, which is get a golf cart, 4 people in it, drive through the rift, and if you don't jump out of the golf cart, it just crashes into the ground, and the people that didn't jump out died, so that was funny. But you go through the rift, and it shoots you through to the top of the map, and you can glide anywhere you want. So it helps you outrun the storm, helps you get away from people. You can like build a fort next to the rifts, and if you get in danger, you jump into the rift and then glide away to the next point. It just helps you get around faster, and it's fun to do, and it feels balanced because when you use it, it's very much like a boom tube in DC. When you use it, it goes whoom, and anybody nearby can hear it and look up in the sky and see you gliding down. So it feels balanced. The golf carts are super loud, so you know that they're coming. I have almost no complaints about the season so far. The skins for it, I think, are a little bit weak, but I think they're probably better than last season still. The emotes for it, I think, are worse. I think that's probably the weakest part of the season, but they also added the emotes to like play golf and spawn basketballs to shoot basketballs and play around, so that kind of balances it out. Really, really good season so far. They changed the Victory Royale screen to make it a little bit better. When you kill somebody, it goes into like a slow-mo shot of the final kill. They changed some of the graphics, and they cleaned up the screen a little bit more. And then they, in my opinion, made all the guns balanced.
Cool.
They made the shotguns consistent, which is what I've been asking for. They no longer shoot a random spread. They shoot the same spread every time, so you can actually figure out where the bullets are going to land and hit the people. And when they hit, they turn red now, so you can see the actual shotgun bullets. So I am so happy with the guns right now in the game. You can use anything. Submachine guns have shot up. Actually, some of the worst guns in the game, considered by the streamers, are the assault rifles now. Like, people aren't using the Scars and stuff because they're using submachine guns because they tear through buildings really quickly. And they've been working on making building not matter. And then the final big change that they made, I know I talk about Fortnite a lot, but the final big change that they made is the final circle now, instead of just shrinking, is now outside in the storm. So basically the final circle moves in the storm. It kind of moves around. So that causes people to not just, if there's two people left, the big issue was they'd both build a base and they'd wait, and then whoever the next circle picked probably won because the other guy's got to go to him. And he's just got cover and high ground and you don't. And now, if you don't kill people in that second to last circle, the circle's in the storm. Nobody's building a base out there. So it's just a mad dash to get to the next spot, or you got to kill each other now because that storm will tear you apart. And I think that was a really smart idea to, once again, de-emphasize the building, which is the most intimidating part for new players. But yeah, I really like it. Todd got on there. Todd got the battle pass with me. We've been playing on. He's got his PlayStation 4.
Guy.
He beat God of War. He's moving on to Nier. He's been playing Fortnite. He's enjoying
God of War real
He
quick.
beat God of War in 2 days, and he's platinuming it. He's working on it. He's done with the Valkyries, and he's a crazy man. He says it's his favorite game of all time right now. I wish.
Spoiler alert.
I wish we could have him on to talk about it, but maybe next week I can grab him, try to get him on here. But
or find a time travel machine and go back to the spoiler cast that we did.
Yeah, that's true. I told him, he's like, oh man, he was talking about all this stuff. I was like, yeah, we did a spoiler cast for it. You can just go listen. He's like, oh, I will. That's it for me. Is there anything else you wanted to tack on?
The only thing I can throw on top of that, because like I said, I took a video game break, but I also haven't been on here in a couple weeks. The Crew 2. I wanted a racer for this year and got it. Really fun game. I didn't play the Crew 1, so I didn't really know what I was jumping into, but this one is different for the fact that you're not just racing cool cars around cool cities. You're doing boats. You're doing really powerful boats. You're doing planes. You're doing bikes. You're doing
trains and automobiles.
All of them. Maybe not trains, which would be kind of weird unless the tracks were laid out for it or something. But you're doing everything in it. So I like the nice spread because it's a game that kind of forces you hey, don't just do bikes the whole time. Get into some of these boats, and everything feels different. As far as you don't just hold a trigger or hold A down and just push a direction. Everything feels weighted differently. Like the boats, you have to actually pay attention to the wakes and stuff, and you have to hit it perfectly. You have to, hit jumps awesome with the MX bikes.
Sounds like the least Kevin game I've ever heard.
Oh yeah, this isn't for you. This is more for me. But hey, there's a boat right now. But sorry, we're near outside.
They won't be able to see that. You confuse them.
Put a picture of a boat up there. But no, it's a lot of stuff going on, and I like it because I'm used to just I want my super strict racer game. I want my Gran Turismo where I've got the awesome cars, or I want my rally car game, or I want my plane game, Ace Combat, that hasn't come out in a decade. So I like that. I kind of can just open it up now, especially because I'm 10, 12 hours into it, something like that. And there's just a million things for me to do, and I can choose whatever I want, kind of whatever mood I feel like being in. So yeah, there's 10 different modes in it, I want to say. So lots of stuff to do, and it's a sort of game you can just kind of come back and chip away at.
Yeah.
Hey, I kind of feel like doing some races. And,
It's like everybody's call. I mean, it's like a sports game.
Sure.
basically.
And like, I feel like drifting. I'll just go drive. Something like that. So it's cool. It's something that'll last probably throughout the year. Just kind of something to jump back to at least before fall hits, because I don't think there's enough time in the year once all those games start coming out, even though a spot just cleared up, which we'll get to. But yeah,
yes, not really.
well, for me. But yeah, Crew 2 is the most recent one, and Octopath is now, and I think it's going to be a little bit before something else comes out. So just be Octopath for now.
All right. So we can move into the shallow news.
It's shallow, but there's some real bangers in there.
There's a couple. It's not that exciting. But let's move into that. Let's start with Nintendo. Nintendo always bringing either the worst news ever or the best news ever. That's kind of how I feel about Nintendo. They're never in the middle. I'm always very disappointed or very excited. And right now, Nintendo, I'm very disappointed. So apparently, during a investor meeting, Nintendo said that they plan to bring 20 to 30 indies to the Switch every week.
Per week.
That sounds awful. That sounds like
That sounds worse than Steam.
Yeah, well, Steam's just anybody could be on here now. They just changed their policy, so anybody can be on there. But like, Nintendo already is bad with their store. They don't have like a storefront where you can just browse games and stuff. Like, you need to know what you want before you get to the store, or you're probably not going to find it unless it just came out. And having 30 games launch one day,
they at least need to have like an indie section or something. It's like, hey, you want to check out the cool indie games?
Do something, curate it, allow fan reviews. Like, you got to do something, recommendations. Like, you got to do something, because that's going to be way, way, way too much. It sounds to me like, a phone, like the App Store when you first went to that, and you're just bombarded by a million things, and you're like, I have no idea if these are good, if they're bad, if they like. That's kind of how I feel that this is going to be. And I actually think the App Store is kind of to blame. I think a lot of people are probably putting phone games onto the Switch because they can, because games are selling on the Switch. But this, to me, seems like a misstep. I would much rather have Nintendo put out 3 a week that are good to amazing.
Well, that have gone through some sort of like system.
Yeah, some
like
sort of
weed it out and get some decent ones out there. Like, they may not be for me, they may not be for you, may not be for a lot of people, but there's something. But yeah, this one's just screw it. Let's put some games on there. So all you would-be streamers out there, start a Nintendo indie game channel and
it just
tell
feels
us what's
like
good.
Indie games are selling really well on the Switch. It's the new Vita. It's doing what the Vita did, basically, which was people put their games out all these places, and surprisingly, the Vita numbers were, the strongest indie game numbers. And the Switch is now taking that. The Switch, by far, is selling more on some games than all the other platforms combined, and all this stuff. And I feel like Nintendo is seeing that and then pushing it too far.
They cranked it up to 11.
They really
20.
did. So I honestly don't see any positive coming out of this. I think this is just all bad.
Well, the positives are for the people trying to get their name out there, so that's cool for them.
Is it? Because they're going to be out there with 30 other people, and then the next week there's 30 new ones, and then the next week there's 30 new.
Yeah, but that helps word of mouth sort of thing. So, getting Monster Hunter Online doesn't care about getting a 4.5 online from one person's vote, but this isn't Monster Hunter Online would.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, reviewers aren't going to be reviewing all these games either. It's not like they're going to get, I imagine most of them are going to be phone games that have been out and like Steam games that have been out forever. But like, I don't know. I think this is a very bad move. And yes, I'd much rather have Nintendo personally give their seal of approval on a couple games each week than just...
Yeah, I just want to know that this has been through at least like 3 rounds of like play testers and people just being like, hey, this game kind of sucks.
Even PlayStation, like PS3 was really good about it, and then PS4, they loosened it just a bit, and then you got garbage games on there instantly. As soon as they loosened it, you got My Name is Mayo. I don't know if you know what that game is, but it is a game where you just tap...
I don't even like Mayo.
You just tap a mayonnaise jar, and if you do it for 4 hours, you get a platinum trophy.
Nice.
That's the game. That's the whole game.
Cool, man.
There's another one I think it was called The Easiest Platinum or something like that. Like, they started. There's that Life of Tiger game or whatever that's awful. Like,
there's a reason why I don't know these things.
As soon as PlayStation loosened up their grip on that stuff, you got garbage. And I'm scared for Nintendo because they're not loosening their grip; they're letting go. They're just letting go. So, next up, Darksiders 3 has gotten a release date. It's going to be coming November 27th, which is significantly sooner than I thought. I didn't even think it was going to make this year.
Well, it went from, hey, here's some news, and then just dead quiet. And it's, hey, we're back, November.
Yeah. Interesting. November is surprisingly more free this year than most Novembers.
Yeah, but for me, it's not the fact that there's not many November games that I'm eyeing. It's the fact that all these September, October games are spilling over into my November.
Sure.
So.
And I mean, that's the reason there's no November game. Everybody was kind of scared of Red Dead and kind of moved, and then Red Dead took October, I believe, and then Call of Duty's in October, and it's a whole thing.
Soul Calibur.
Sure, that big one that everybody's scared of.
It's a good game.
Sure, it is, but I'm just saying it's not Red Dead. But anyway, watch the gameplay of it. Looks cool.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid between Zelda and Bayonetta, basically, is kind of what the vibe I get from it. I have the other Darksiders games. I haven't actually played
a little more on the Bayonetta side, I'd say.
Really? I think most people would say more on the Zelda side. Anyway, doesn't matter. Looked cool.
Yeah.
I won't get this game at launch, but it might be one of those down the road things. Like I said, I have the other Darksiders. Maybe I'll hop into them, play them, and see how I feel. Actually, I heard the Wii U version of Darksiders, best version.
Really
interesting, because you can manage your inventory system live.
And
since it's kind of like the Zelda games, where like you can switch to the hook shot without opening a menu, so you just instantly can change your items and things, which is nice. So, next up, something that I think pertains to you, Monster Hunter. We got some PC news.
Oh, yeah.
We got some specs. I don't know what they were. I don't know what they meant. I didn't even click them. We also learned that it's going to have 4K support. Not very surprising. It's going to run at 60 frames per second. A little bit surprising. Not super surprising, but okay. And then Capcom said that they will update the game with basically the console version updates gradually to the PC version. So they're not going to launch with everything. It's going to be a slow burn to get that stuff.
Usually that's the point of releasing the PC version after, is because, like, especially when Destiny... Well, no, not even Destiny. That's a bad example. But, like, other games, just like, okay, you've waited 8 months. Here's everything that you've been playing on the consoles.
Did Destiny come to PC? Destiny 1?
2.
Okay.
No.
I didn't think so.
I just wanted it to. But, no, like, that's the point, is that, hey, you've been waiting this long period of time. Here you go.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's like a backbreaker or anything like that. It's just kind of weird.
Yeah. It's coming August 9th.
Oh, yeah.
So
much sooner than I thought it would be.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Well, just because, like, they said at the end of the year, PC was going to be delayed a bit, and then there's just kind of like question marks. And then usually when you wait so long, it's just like, okay, here we go, December, Monster Hunter Online. And it's Capcom, so Capcom's hit or miss.
I definitely could see December. They like putting out games randomly in December. That sounds right.
But they were just like, hey, it's early July, and you're getting it this time next month. It's just like, oh, okay. Well, that fills in my August gap now. So that's awesome.
Next piece of news. Code Vein has been delayed until 2019. They said that it is to further refine gameplay in an effort to exceed the expectations of fans. They said that they're taking into account things from E3 and Anime Expo to kind of polish the game. I don't believe them. I think that they don't want to come out this year because this year is insane. I mean, their release date was terrible. It was not a good time to release a game.
I'd like to believe it, at least, that those are two very big conventions, and lots of feedback flying through. So,
sure, but I think that's a straight... I think that it's really... They were coming out on top of Tomb Raider, Spyro, Red Dead, Call of Duty... all these games that, sure, may not have the same exact audience, but I don't know... Now, their problem that they're looking at now is they're going to probably launch Near Shadows Die twice. And you definitely want to beat that game out the gate. So I imagine this is a earlier 2019 game. Along with the Persona Dancing games are supposed to be early 2019 as well. As is Catherine, apparently. Catherine Full Body. And obviously February, which I guess counts as early 2019, is stacked already.
April
so.
counts as early 2019 when
Yeah,
you're
so-
Bandai Namco or any Japanese studio.
I would just say stay out of February. That's my
as
word
much
of
as we
caution.
want to talk about 2017 being the golden year, 2018's got some real killers, and this year, 2019's starting off real hot.
I did. Well, sure, it's starting off hot, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to call it like a God of War type of start or
See, I don't.
Zelda.
This year, I think's been so weak. Like, I think God of War is great, and
It's just
now
spiky.
Octopath's good. But like,
it's spiky. for
earlier
me.
before that, there was nothing else that I was like, ooh.
There's
cool.
lots of peaks, lots of valleys in this year for me. So
Yeah, you did. Oh no, you didn't even play Monster Hunter. You're waiting on Monster Hunter.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, a lot of people would put Monster Hunter up there too.
Oh boy,
personally
I
just
can't
didn't
wait.
Like it. Next up, just a real quick bit of news. It has been confirmed that Nathan Drake actually never gets shot in the Uncharted games. So all the red markers that appear on the screen are luck. It is your chance of luck. So as your luck tightens, they grow and grow more, and then when you actually get hit is where you die. And then that was told in an interview, and then Amy Hennig actually confirmed it for the Uncharted games. So the whole idea is basically it's like an action movie. The hero was never actually getting shot. It's just his chance of getting shot growing, and then when he gets hit, he dies.
That might be one of the dumbest news stories that we've gone over, but it's
Really?
cool. I mean,
I think that's
it's,
really
it's a
awesome.
cool Easter egg. But
I think that's
it's
really cool,
like-
and I don't know why they didn't say this years ago.
Yeah.
Because that is such a smart idea, and I actually, knowing that now, I wish that they did more with it, where like when you were actually really close to dying, like you could see the bullets whizzing by you, like it would slow down for a second and you could see them just missing you and stuff.
I don't know. It's just really weird.
Sure. Well, I mean, you
I think
do,
it's just the timing of it.
you
I
do
guess,
these
but-
interviews. Yeah, I was about to say we have another one. You do these interviews, you just get random tidbits of knowledge. Here's another one. Neil Druckmann in an interview. This one's more relevant though. Neil Druckmann in an interview confirmed that Ellie will have an AI companion in The Last of Us Part 2.
So does that mean robot, or does that mean not controlled by the player?
I'm going to assume not controlled by the player.
Now, if
So
we're talking robot, then I'm more interested.
in Last of Us 1, you basically always, not for the whole game, but you basically always had a companion with you during different parts of the game, whether it's the opening, you had a companion, the next section of the game, you had a different companion. You obviously have Ellie playing as Joel through a lot of
someone's
the
got to
game.
boost the other person over the wall.
Yeah,
and someone's
you
gotta-
you need to have these other people to run by the enemies that don't see them. So he said specifically that he kind of let it slip that yes, there will be somebody watching Ellie's back, and he said Ellie used to be the NPC, but she's the protagonist in The Last of Us Part 2, so the player is controlling Ellie. It's safe to say that within the game in the past, there will be some NPCs with you in the story, even though we're not showing the NPCs in the demo. Our general approach is to say, again, how do we treat them like people? How do we get them to behave honestly like those people? How do we give them interesting characteristics so that they can navigate the world, make meaningful actions, and surprise you in the way that people do? And he went on to specifically kind of challenge Atreus in God of War. So that'll be an interesting comparison that I'm sure will be made. Because Atreus was really, really good companion.
Boy, was awesome.
Yeah, in God of War. So it'll be interesting looking at companions post God of War to see how they work. Because I don't want to spoil anything from God of War, but they did some really cool stuff with him.
He was useful. That's the most unspoiler way.
He was useful, yes, but also mechanically they did some really cool things with him. Because he had a dedicated button throughout the entire game that let you do different commands with him and stuff. And like in The Last of Us, you don't have a "Hey, help me out" thing. It's like there's like a couple tiers. There's they just follow you and don't do anything, like the Ashley in Resident Evil 4. There's kind of a in between, like Elizabeth in BioShock Infinite, where they'll like toss you ammo and like you can hit a button and interact with them a little bit every once in a while. There's the more realistic-y way, which I think Last of Us did, where they're running around, they're fighting, they can actually kill people and stuff. They feel like a separate individual, almost like a co-op partner, and they're also handing you ammo and things like that. And then the other way is the God of War way, where they're being helpful and active on their own, but they also can be directed and helped and do particular
and the God of
things.
War way too is if they're in trouble, they don't hinder you. Like,
yes, that's very
they
important.
can't just like die and game over, or it's not like you are severely punished because you didn't
you didn't
babysit.
help them. Yeah. Or you get like the bad ending because they took too many hits or things like
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Final little bit of news. RPG Maker MV is coming to basically everything in 2019. This was a PC release a couple years ago, and it's coming over to the big boys, the PS4, the Xbox One, the Switch, I believe, is getting a version. You ever played RPG Maker?
Have seen people who invest a lot more time than I do into that sort of stuff, and I've seen their results, but no, I haven't personally done it.
I have RPG Maker 2, I think, on the PlayStation 2. Way over my head as a kid, but I still enjoyed messing around with it. I remember I always would just make like one little world, and I'd make it look like the cover of the game, because I always thought the cover of the game was really cool. So I was like, oh, I'll put this Grim Reaper in here and then fight it. But like, I bet if I went back on even the PlayStation 2 version now, I'd have a lot of fun with it. So I'm actually kind of interested in this.
I mean, if they're
for the Switch, that sounds really cool.
If they're not going to release Dreams, then you have to make your own RPG somehow. So.
Will they release Dreams? That leads right into our next section, which is going to be our question. So, our question for today is going to be, what revealed games so far are actually going to end up being PlayStation 5 and Xbox One 2 games? So what games that are confirmed, not like, Horizon 2 or God of War 2 or anything like that, but what revealed, actually talked about games
are going to be on the next
to
iteration.
Actually be next-gen games. And we can just go back and forth, rattle some off, and see how we feel. And I want to start off with one called Ace Combat 7 that you brought up earlier, and I was like, where is that game? Maybe that is a next-gen
It's called
game.
Purgatory, is where this game is at. Like, I just don't understand what's going on
They
with it.
keep putting out trailers and stuff for it, though.
Yeah,
and
like, what is a plain combat game up against? Like, I'd understand if they were like, maybe Crimson Skies will come out. Let's hold off.
Yeah,
like,
I
don't know. Like, it's just not existent. So, I don't think it'll come out for anything. I think it's just not real.
Maybe.
They're just filming planes somewhere, and they're just like, Ace Combat.
Speaking of our transition, Dreams is another one that I think is starting to be questionable, though. I'm also starting to think Dreams might just be one of those, hey, it's coming out in 3 weeks, guys.
By the way, it's out.
By the way, Medium Molecules closed down. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if...
going to update the store or something and just see it sitting there like, huh?
But on a more serious note, even though some of that is serious, what do you think? What are you thinking?
Of the games that you have listed?
No, just throw them
I mean, definitely Elder Scrolls.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls Starfield have been announced as next-gen games, and Todd Howard has gone on the record saying, yes, they are Xbox Scarlet and whatever the heck the PlayStation 5 is going to be games. That is confirmed. Those are the only two confirmed ones, I believe. Next up, I'm going to throw out Cyberpunk.
Yeah, well, and here's the thing, too. Here's the caveat to this, is which one of these are purely next iteration, and which one of these are just, like, tail end of, but it also has the new version, so Xbox
the Destiny.
2.
What about Cyberpunk? I think Cyberpunk is a launch on 4 consoles. I think you get it on the old ones and you get it on the new ones.
If we could have seen the gameplay trailer, it would help us judge a lot more. Is this game close to completion, or is this...
I feel like if it was close, they would have said it was close. They've been so open. I don't know. They talked to... I think they said when it's ready in their reveal thing. Yeah. They're like, we'll talk about when it's ready. But I don't see CD Projekt Red as being a company that's like, hey, it's going to be available in anything less than 3, 4, 5 months. Like, I feel like they would want to announce it ahead of time.
While they don't have like an EA pressure on them, by any means, they're also a company that likes to hype stuff up a little bit. Even when they talked about Witcher 3, like they didn't really take like years to say like, hey, it's coming. Like they would introduce maybe a couple CG videos, but they wouldn't do like super teaser, like here's the gameplay, here's
I wouldn't be surprised if that game comes out next year, but I think that's a 2020 game, and I also kind of think that's when the consoles are coming. So
I kind of feel.
I think we might see the gameplay reveal for Cyberpunk at Microsoft's console reveal for Scarlet.
So what I think with that game, just in particular, is I think we're going to get it right at the tail end of this generation, and then the complete version or definitive edition is a launch.
Gotcha.
But that's just because I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint without seeing all the cool stuff that all the other people get to see. It's hard to pinpoint when that game or where that game's actually at in its process. But yeah, Starfield, Elder Scrolls, whether or not they confirm, they're for sure not on these current gen systems. Halo Infinite, oh man, like
I think Halo Infinite is 100% next gen only.
Well, the thing that gets me is they went through all that trouble of showing the new system that it's built on. System being like the in-game system.
Okay.
Like they went through and showed you, hey, we're doing all new everything, which is what made people go, is Halo 1? Like, including me, but they were just, it was more like a tech demo.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, it's for Halo.
Yeah, I feel like this is similar to Detroit. So Kara was a demo on PlayStation 3 that they showed off, I believe. And people loved it, and then Detroit came out on PS4. I think this is kind of a similar thing. Yeah. I think this might be an Xbox One like showcase that they just did, but I think the game is going to be on Scarlet.
I mean,
I think I wouldn't be surprised if it's a launch game.
It's hard to imagine launching a system, an Xbox, without kind of like a Halo soon,
sometime,
or like at least announced for it, sort of like they did with like Mario. Yeah, and
I think there's no
Zelda
way they put out
Switch.
A Halo in the next year and a half, and they launch a new console in the next 2.5 years, and that Halo is not on that new console.
What got me was all of the Gears of War interest that they put into it, whether it's the mobile game, whether it's the XCOM game, or whether it's the full-fledged game coming out. They tripled down basically on Gears of War, so that makes me think they're buying room for Halo Infinite to be on the new system.
I agree.
Because
I don't think Gears is.
Because
usually
it was
Xbox One.
Yeah, because usually it was Halo Gears, Halo Gears, Halo Gears. So now I think they're just padding a little bit of room so the new system can come out, or new something. I don't know if they're just going to do a system or what.
I don't want a new system.
They're going to put a chip in my head or something, but
whatever it's been confirmed it is multiple hardware pieces. So.
Yeah, I think they are buying time for Halo with all the Gears stuff. So yeah, Gears for sure going to be on the systems that we have now.
I think Infinite is going to be. I don't even think Infinite's on the one. So next I'll throw out The Last of Us Part 2, since we just talked about that. I think this is absolutely a PS4 game.
For sure.
But I think we get remastered within a year or so of the next gen's life cycle. I don't think
we might be up to 8K at that point, so we'll just get an 8K version.
I don't think it'll be anything too crazy, but I think that they'll update it, and they'll probably Naughty Dog's been doing lots of like a story expansion for things recently. I imagine we get a story expansion, and then on the PlayStation 5 we get the complete package.
Yeah, hopefully a backstory into that robot teammate that we're getting.
How about Death Stranding? What do you think about this one?
Once again, another game that's hard to tell where it's at in its life cycle, because we don't even know
this game could come out next week, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, like
this game could come out in 7 years, and I wouldn't be surprised.
We don't know what the end goal of the game is. At least with Halo, like you can fairly expect it's going to have a campaign, it's going to have multiplayer, and
I disagree. I don't think it's. I think it's it'll have a quote unquote campaign. I think it's going to be like Destiny.
Who knows? But like I'm just saying, like at least you have a general mindset of like where it'll probably end up.
Sure.
Same thing with like Cyberpunk. Like it's just going to be a long RPG.
Yeah.
Elder Scrolls. There's 5 other ones. You can probably guess what the 6th one's going to be like for the most part. But like we don't even know what this game is supposed to be. So
it is a walking messenger simulator.
So how? Yeah, it's a
with a rain
baby
that
delivery
distorts time.
I guess you're like the stork that brings the babies to the.
It's also linked to your social media.
Yeah.
And also, if you die, you go into first person and wander the world, but time's still moving in third person world, and you can get back to third person world, and things will have changed.
That sounds like what happens when I log into Facebook anyway. So I guess it's already active. But yeah, like we don't know the end result, so it's hard to see like, okay, this game is almost finished. 2019, here we come. Like you have just no clue. So I think Death Stranding more so. Last of Us Part 2, yeah, for sure. But Death Stranding, I want to say it's just like that's the final like nail in the coffin for this.
You think it's
gen.
this one?
Yeah.
I think Death Stranding is a Metal Gear Solid 5 situation. I think it's going to launch on both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it launches on both. Next up, some jokes here. We got Crackdown 3.
Yeah.
What about this game? You think this is coming out February 22nd?
I can't. I mean, it has looked a little bit better in some regards, but then like it seems like the quality of like the textures and stuff kind of got scaled down.
Dude,
so
I went and watched the video of Crackdown 1.
Mm-hmm.
That game looks way better. You know, it actually looked pretty good. Red Faction and Remastered.
Yeah.
Like watching the destructible stuff in that,
Yeah.
I was like,
The game looks
what's
sweet.
wrong with Crackdown?
So I'm not really sure what the issue with Crackdown is. I feel like they're trying something big and it's just not working. Because like it's not really competing with like Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead.
No, it's more like a Just Cause thing.
So I don't really know like what is holding them back other than there's just something in the game and they can't get it, or they're like
there's some game breaking bug.
there's just something weird with it. I want to say like it either comes out February, March, or whatever enough next year, or just doesn't come out. Like it just can't.
I would say that's ridiculous, but they canceled Scalebound, and that game looked
Yeah.
far along too. So I wouldn't
Let's put those people working back on
you,
Scalebound.
You can't do that. That's too much bad press. I don't know. Maybe they can.
I don't know. So is like dangling this game out for.
Here's one I'm pretty confident in: the Avengers.
Yeah.
You think that's next gen completely?
No.
You think it's both?
I think there's a ticking time clock with this. Like, if you wanted to liken it to Star Wars, if it was an actual, like, if it was followed the canon, the 1, 2, 3, all the way through 9 episodes, like, I think there's a ticking time clock. Obviously, next year, and Marvel, the actual film studio, isn't going to stop anytime soon. I think they have plans for, like, 5 or 7 more years.
We don't really know what they're doing, though, right?
Past next year.
Past Infinity
there's a bunch of
War
question marks.
2.
But I think you kind of have to ride the wave of hype. So I thought it made sense for it to come out this year because people are kind of in limbo waiting for the last half of this epic movie to come out. But maybe you just do it right after
Part 2.
Yeah, so maybe like summer, fall next year. But like I feel like you gotta
It'd be
catch
weird.
the wave.
You'd be competing with Spider-Man if you.
That's
did it
fair.
This year.
I just feel like you gotta catch that wave, else you're going to. It'll still sell because it's Marvel and people like this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But like I feel like you miss out on a certain percentage of people if you wait too long after.
I think you miss out on a percentage of people who are kids, like really young kids that when you saw the movie and then won the thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that game. I actually think that game is completely next gen.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just it depends. What are they doing with it? Yeah. Are you playing as Captain America and Thor and all these people that may or may not be around in 2020, 2022? Or
you mean in the movie version?
Yeah. So, and sort of like the fighting game that they put out last year with the Marvel vs. Capcom, like, are you making it more geared towards the MCU, or
I guess they haven't really been doing too well with their. I mean, Spider-Man looks good, obviously.
Sure.
But yeah, they had a couple miss it. Like Guardians wasn't great, the Telltale one.
It's because it's Telltale. I haven't tried it though, but
sure. Yeah, but like the Telltale Guardians
Telltale
was like, and then Marvel vs. Capcom.
So yeah, like is this Square game like following the MCU, or is it just hey, here's some Marvel characters that we're gonna do something for? So once again, if we knew what the final product was, we'd have a better idea. But yeah, I think just from a marketing standpoint, like if you don't do it next year, something's wrong. Like you've missed the boat somehow.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited for that one too. Do you have any other ones you want to throw out?
No, you listed a few on there that you can hit on.
Keep Borderlands 3 is my next one. This game was like announced at PSX or something, and I say announced very loosely. He's like, yeah, we're working on Borderlands 3. Yeah. If you want to work on Borderlands 3, come send a job application. It's like, okay. And they showed a tech demo for it sometime. And that's all we know about it, and that leads me to believe this game is almost guaranteed to be a next-gen game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on both.
That's the thing, is that there's not really a bad time to release Borderlands.
Sure.
You can just kind of do
weird.
it whenever. Yeah.
I don't know. Borderlands could be like, hey, we're revealing it in March, and it comes out in September. Like, I could totally see them being that company, but...
I mean, they could also release it at the end of a console cycle and then say, hey, here's The same
handsome,
thing.
handsome Jack Collection 2,
Yeah.
and it has everything that wasn't in the first one. Yeah. Next up, one that I think is another guarantee: Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think this is absolutely next gen.
Yeah.
I don't even think this is gonna come out on PlayStation 4.
No. I mean, I don't see anything that tells me that this game is remotely soon.
Yeah. Next up, an interesting one: Babylon's Fall. So this is the Platinum game that was revealed at Square's event. So Platinum and Square, like near, teaming up again to do Babylon's Fall. This was a PlayStation 4 PC exclusive, I believe. We don't know anything about it besides a little teaser. I think it said 2019 in the teaser. What do you think about this? You think this is coming 2019?
I don't see what kind of pressure is on it to have to hit 2019. So, it's kind of a gray area. Sure, why not, sort of thing. I don't think this would blow like pre-order system sales out the roof.
Yeah.
If it was a launch game, but it wouldn't hurt if it wasn't there. It's just sort of a weird area. So
we don't know much about the game. That's why I put a lot of question marks on this list. Another question mark: Wolf Among Us Season 2. So this was one that they announced. Everybody was real excited because they thought it would never happen. They announced it. They then laid off a whole bunch of people. Then they said that they're redoing their engine, which they've said that before, and they didn't do it. So that was a little weird. I think this is an everything game. I think this is going to be on from the Switch all the way up to the PlayStation 5.
Well, like I was saying about Borderlands, there's not like a bad time to release it, really.
Sure. I just think this game is not coming out before the new consoles are out, I guess is my point. Next up, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. So this was announced at the Ubisoft event in a weird fashion.
I mean, if you want to call it announced, but it was more like it was in the EA, but she just kind of jumped in the crowd and sat down next to him, and I was just like, it's a Star Wars game. It's called Jedi Fallen Order.
And then I feel like that was enough, and then we're like, oh, that's exciting, and then move on, and then they did a weird bit, and they said that it's coming next year. Like, they're going to talk about it next year.
Yeah, talk about it next year.
Yeah. And I think they said that it's supposed to be coming holiday next year, if I remember correctly in that conversation, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
What do you think about this? Do you think this is a next-gen game?
I think so. I don't remember too many Star Wars games lately, besides Battlefront, I guess, that have come out when they're quote-unquote supposed to, or when, the kind of projected. So them already saying holiday, like that's what you say when you're not sure.
Holiday is a very much, we can play with that term.
Yeah.
What holiday are we talking about? You don't know.
And I don't think anyone ever gets too disappointed when you're the year before, you're a year and a half before, and they say holiday the next year, and then like it bumps a few months because no one says holiday. Not many people say holiday, and then they're just like November, December. Like most people just kind of use that. It's more like a nice phrase.
We meant New Year's.
Like it sounds good, and then it gets bumped to like the April of next year, and you're like, okay, whatever, not bad. Much more forgiving that way.
I agree. And then my final one on here I have is Medieval Remastered. The game that I want the most.
Fake news.
Oh my gosh. So I have a tweet that I want to read because I thought it was funny. I sent it to you already, but I'm going to read it to the listeners. So Per Schneider of IGN, co-owner of IGN, tweeted basically why they do so much Fortnite content. And they tweeted a chart that shows the amount of clicks that Fortnite content gets, which is off the charts, basically, and the next closest thing is Octopath Traveler, and that's got about 25% of the clicks of Fortnite. So that's what the chart shows, and then it goes all the way down to 10th place, which is Battlefield 5, which is about a quarter of Octopath's clicks, just so you can get a kind of a range. So Greg Miller, obviously former IGN employee, tweets, "Hey Per, longtime IGN reader, can you tell me where Patapon 2 PS4 traffic is on this list? If anyone from your staff knows anything about it." Obviously, it was revealed at PSX 2017, and we haven't heard anything since, though it is supposed to come out this year. So Patapon 2 Remastered revealed PSX 2017. Supposed to come out this year. We don't know anything about it. Pear responded to that saying, "Hi, Greg. Nice to meet you." Little playful joke. How popular is Patapon 2 right now? It is currently 2,537th place, right behind the original Monster Hunter. So I responded to that and said, same question, Medieval Remastered. Pear responded to that saying, not even in the top 5,000. The original game's at 3,108 though, so maybe some Google searches arrive on an info page for the original, smiley face. So what are you guys doing not looking up Medieval Remastered content is my first question.
And actual no one cares.
The fact 3 people liked my tweet responding to that. Not a good ratio. Though I am curious where that game is. I kind of think that's a PSX. I think it's going to be digital only, and I think at PSX they're going to just drop it, honestly.
It'll be a limited runs thing next year that you can buy.
I doubt that because it's published by Sony. And then on top of that, I think it's going to be like Parappa. You remember how they put out a remaster of Parappa?
I remember Parappa.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like that. It's going to be like $15. It's going to be almost like an upscaled to 4K remaster. It's not going to be a Crash Bandicoot or a Wipeout. It's going to be more of a, the only shimmer of hope that I have that it is going to be like a redo is Sean Layden of PlayStation that, announced it and everything, who's been doing these remasters. He worked on Medieval. That was one of his first projects. So he has a personal connection to that game, and that's why I think it might get a little bit more of a treatment than it would otherwise.
Keep dreaming.
That was just a fun little aside that I wanted to point out. And with that said, we can move into the releases, though they don't really matter too much because Octopath Traveler is out
because
for
they're not
us,
Octopath
and
Traveler.
you just handed me Persona 3 Dancing, so I'm booked.
Yeah.
But let's move into the releases with that said. So first up, we have Hand of Fate 2 coming to the Switch July 17th. Heard of that game. Don't know what it is.
I've got a hand. 2, actually.
Thank you. Next up, Sonic Mania Plus coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch July 17th. This is the physical release of Sonic Mania. They had a physical release before, but it didn't have the game. It was like a statue.
Yeah.
So this is cool. I'm actually sort of interested in this. I might pick this up later down the line. I have no clue why Kellen hasn't gotten this yet.
I don't know.
He is the only Sonic fan I know. He hasn't played it. Everybody I see review the games and stuff that like Sonic is like, this is the best Sonic game since the actual good Sonic
I'm pretty
games.
sure in the opening of the game they say for Kellen.
Oh my gosh. It drives me crazy.
It's like a love letter to Kellen.
It drives me crazy he hasn't got it, but I might actually end up picking this up later down the road. Mother Gunship is coming to the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC July 17th. And Pool Panic is coming to the Switch and PC July 17th. Now, do you think this is a swimming game, or do you think this is a billiards game?
I think this is
Or do you think they play pool while they're in the pool?
I think this is I don't know how to react at this pool party game.
It's just awkward situation.
An awkward teen with anxiety.
That's
it's just
the panic.
I don't know how to behave, I guess, at this pool party. So
Interesting.
Sort of like a Life is Strange, except
I also think it is a pool, outdoor pool game, but I think it's a match 3 puzzle game, and your flotation device is slowly sinking in the water, and if you don't match those puzzles, you're gonna fall into the pool. That's what I'm thinking.
Whatever we just said in the past 2 minutes is probably way more fun than
what this
that game
actually is. So anyway, look for that on July 19th. And with that said, that is all the news, the releases, and the opinions we have for you this week. Thank you for being here, Nick.
Yeah, I got more Octopath to play. See ya.
And thank you guys so much for listening. We will speak with you next time.